Hey guys, welcome back to the advanced tier of our Face Reading Academy. Now we are still in the topic of the modifiers, a life less ordinary. Previously we talked about the chin and everything you need to know about the chin, but as you know, now the chin is up to this part, but beyond that, that's the jawline, okay? So, and also once you add the jawline together, you also have another line that comes down that's called the laughter lines, okay? Everyone has a laughter line in some ways. So in this module, I want to deep dive into the jaws as well as the laughter lines and how it can indicate or modify your entire reading for face reading. This is very, very, very important. So let's begin. Let's talk about the jaws. First of all, what does it represent? What does this part of the face represent? Well, the jaw is located at the lower portion, okay? You see this part, this is the lower portion of the three regions, okay? We have the upper region, middle region, and lower region. So the jaw is actually from the tip of the nose. If you draw a line onto the tail end of your ears and all the way down, that's your jawline. It's part of the trinity, so it does represent older age or senior age. It covers the entire earth corner, which is below your chin. The chin is here, below, right? This is where the double chin is, and below, that's the whole jawline, okay? And of course, it governs a person's willpower, leadership, you gotta have jaws to have leadership, housing luck, that means, can you find good properties? Can you live in a good area? Will you live in a good neighborhood, right? So this is another way to look at property luck, yeah? Your health in old age, family matters, relationship with family, and career prospects after 50. Why after 50? Because the nose ends at 50. 51 onwards, it's the philtrum. All the way out, this is the region. So this part holds the lower region together. So if this jawline is good, even if you have a lousy chin, the jawline is good, that can compensate, okay? So that's why it's important to study the jaws, all right? So we are looking at from here all the way down up to here. So it's below the chin, below, right? So it's up here, that's the jawline, and it's from here, just below the nose, all the way, that region. So if you have very poor mouth, for example, a lousy chin, but you got a great jaw, you can still sort of compensate for that weakness. That's why they are called modifiers, okay? So let's begin with the first one called the broad jaws, okay? Broad jawline, all right? So this is a broad jawline. Look at that, okay? From here, and you see how, look at the distance. Look at the distance. That's called broad. If this is narrower, it's called short, okay? Broad jawline, and this is, you can see the whole part here is very well defined. This is a broad jaw, okay? Here's an example of a real life person that you can recognize, obviously. From here to here, can you see how big that is? Okay, this is a broad jawline. Okay, a broad jawline, okay, broad, is someone who is active, magnanimous, usually belongs to people who have great leadership capacity. They are usually honest people, nicer people to work with, and they are very, 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 very good at problem solving. Without a jawline, can't solve problems. They usually give up. But with the jaw, right, that is broad, usually belongs to people who can solve more problems. That's why you see a lot of top-level CEOs, right? Great leaders, not just actors, but great leaders, business leaders. They have usually a broad jawline, okay? Especially great statesmen, for example, they have broad jawline because they have to solve problems. Great leaders solve problems, and they serve other people. Lousy leaders don't solve problems. They will have a lot of problems they can't solve, and then they blame it on the economy or the market, okay? So that broad jawline is very, very important. If you're trying to get someone who wants to take on a leadership role, look at the jawline. Now, opposite of a broad jaws, the next one is narrow, all right? So look at this chart here. So here you can see, now this is not 100% too narrow, but definitely, okay, if this cuts inwards more, all right, that is considered a narrow jaw, all right? Because it sort of goes in, whereas the other picture that you saw, it was broad. Right now, can you see it sort of goes inwards and it cuts into the face. This is considered narrow. Broad is spacious, narrow sinks in. Let me show you another picture. So here you can see it sort of cuts inwards. Can you see that? It cuts inwards. So that is a narrower jawline, okay, as you can see, right? Compared to broad, that will be broad, This is narrow, okay? So two different features here. Narrow jawline belongs to someone who is quick-witted but less open-minded as opposed to someone with a broad jaw. Broad jaw belongs to someone who deals with big problems. A smaller jawline, narrower jawline belongs to someone who it can solve small problems, but when it comes to big problems, it's not so able to take on the stress or take on that position or become that magnanimous. Now, a pointy jaw, this you have to take note. A pointy jaw looks like this, okay? Can you see that angle? Not everyone has an angle that actually protrudes out like that, okay? So if you can see that angle coming out, that's considered a sharp, pointy jawline, okay? A sharp, pointy jawline belongs to someone who are not as optimistic as a broad, spacious jawline. When you see it's broad, a pointier one belongs to someone who is sensitive and edgy, okay? They can be very affectionate, but they can get offended easily, okay? So sometimes they belong to people who are more sensitive, a little bit more fickle-minded, very vain though, people with a jawline that is very easily defined and seen. With an age like this, they are vain, they like to look good all the time. But the only issue is they don't have so much perseverance and stamina. Right now, they think they're working hard, but they're actually not working so hard. That's the thing, okay? They're very talented in artistic sort of work, performing arts, for example, or music, and they have great innovation abilities. But the difference is they either change career frequently or they change career or business location frequently. Now, next is the long jaws, okay? Long. Now, you can be pointy but not long, right? So what is a long jaw? This is long, right? See this part to this part, this is long. So here is another thing, right? So you can see here long, right? This is short, this is long. This is long jaws. Here's another example of a long jaw. Can you see the distance, right? So short, long, okay? So a long jaw belongs to a well-mannered, polite person, a person who is very particular on mannerisms, right? A person who is serious and don't like to joke around. They like to be courteous. They care about good manners. Someone who is very proper, all right, usually has a longer jaw. So as opposed to a short jaw, okay, this is short, all right? Here's an example of a short jaw. Can you see this is short? And this is almost non-existent, but it's short. Can you see this part here? It's very, very short. Now, short belongs to people who are, well, a politeness or right protocol is not so important. They normally don't believe in other people so much, right? They can be considered a bit more selfish than other people. They have a lot of interest in life, too many interests sometimes, and they get fond of new things and they disregard the old things very quickly. So they are the ones that change things, okay? You notice that if something new comes out, they want the latest phone, latest item, latest stuff, or latest business idea and business model, and they start switching. So these are people who like short-term success as opposed to long-term gains, okay? Good for traders, not so good for long-term investors. Next is the protruding jawbone, okay? Now, when it's protruding, it basically means you can actually see the bone protruding like this, okay? Now, you need to take note. Is it pointy, bony protruding, or fleshy protruding? Now, I consider this fleshy protruding. This is fleshy, okay? This is also considered fleshy, and it's protruding outwards. If it is bony, it's not good. Fleshy is actually very good. Fleshy means you're belonging to someone who are more passionate and decisive. They have strong perseverance and drive, okay? They are strict towards their family though. They really have, a set of protocol. They want the family to be good because it supports the family palace, which is the chin, okay? The only difference is, somehow marriage doesn't really work out for a long run, but they're also very protective of their family and self-interest. So sometimes if you're with them, you might feel that they are more selfish, but on their perspective, they are always taking their family's interest first to help themselves first before other people. That protectiveness sometimes is seen as being selfish, okay? But they're very focused on what they do. Now, a receding jawline is not good. A receding jawline is when you see this part actually going inwards and you see, sort of creates that narrow chin, okay? So you can see that this is a receding, clearly is a receding jawline. So it goes inwards. It's like almost this pressed into the face. So a person like this is normally rash and irresolute. Usually when people say, how do you see someone is lazy? No jawline, okay? They proceed inwards. is one of those features, right? They are normally not lazy, but they procrastinate. Well, another word for it is lazy. So we don't like people without jawlines. Now, what is worse than a receding jawline? Invisible jawlines. Someone who doesn't even have jaws in the first place, like you see, is like almost invisible. It's just part of your face, okay? So like this, okay? It's like no jawline whatsoever, right? It's almost like recede into the neck. It's almost like it's just recede to part of the face. That is worse, okay? Having that sort of feature is someone who lacks self-opinion, is weak-willed, basically they just follow whatever other people say, and they can be tempted to the dark side, or tempted to do shortcuts, take shortcuts very easily. Sometimes even unenergetic, okay? And when they are married, they expect a lot from the other half, okay? They expect the other half to be doing a lot of things for them. When person is absence of a jawline, means absence of a jaw in the first place, okay? So whenever you see the face, it is very important to see whether you have a jawline or not. Now, of course, it would be great if you have a jawline and it's fleshy. Remember I told you about fleshiness? A fleshy jaw is someone that has that you can see is meaty, all right? It's quite easy to say, all right? As long as it's meaty, the person is affectionate, and a person who is more decisive, who is gentle and nice. Bony, harsh, fleshy, gentle and nice. Remember that. They're more tolerant and they have the ability to solve problems. So fleshy always means the person is better. A bonier jaw is more selfish. A fleshier one is more affectionate and actually cares for how other people feel, okay? Now, it's useful to take note whether the age, remember we talked about the pointy jawline. Now, opposite of a pointy jawline is a rounded jawline. Pointy, it's a person that is more straightforward and decisive and action oriented, whereas a round one is more good at socializing skills. They are, they know how to connect better with people, less of a straight shooter, but more like a person who is more amiable, nicer characteristics. Okay, so they have better people skills. A corner, if the jawline is more squarish or bonier or pointy, is someone who is more straightforward and tell it as it is. A rounded one is someone who is more tactful when it comes to connecting with other people. Here's how a rounded jawline looks like. Okay, so as you can see, this is rounded. And next we have this called the crooked jaws. As this word implies, crooked jaws is not good. Crooked jaw basically is like this, okay? So you could see somewhat it is wavy. It doesn't look straight. It comes out and then goes back in and come back down again. So here is another view of it, as you could see, right? Can you see it sort of pierce outwards and come back in? Can you see this? Right, this part here. So we call it crooked. This is considered one of those features where the bone sort of come out and come in. It's not really coming out. It's just like a small little dent or a protrusion of a bone. It belongs to people who are, in Chinese we call it yim zai, or people who can betray other people. They're considered not sentimental. Sometimes we call them even heartless, unappreciative of whatever you do for them, or sometimes people who are just not loyal. All right, people who think that the world owes them something usually have a feature like this. Okay, so take note of a crooked jaw. Now, sometimes you may see that the jawline is a bit saggy. Now, of course, saggy jawline, it indicates health-related problems. Okay, that means the health it's a little bit moving downwards. Okay, this part they're going downwards is saggy, too overly fleshy sometimes, but it's not flesh as in firm, but saggy, okay? You take note of that. If that's happening, that means you're looking at someone who is maybe physical matters, some of the physical energy is deteriorating and or may be a health risk. So you need to take note of people who have saggy jawline. The jawline can maintain strong and firm. If the flesh is firm, even though a person might be old, it's very fit. The person, if this part starts drooping all the way down, something like this. Saggy, this is what it means, okay? So take note of a saggy jawline. So we have talked about all the different types of jaws, which is actually not so difficult because this topic is quite straightforward. It's either you're broad or you're narrow, you're fleshy, or you can see the edge of bony. So once you understand how to see the jaws, basically it retains to whether someone has willpower or not. If you wanted to remember just one thing, The jaws tells you whether someone can take the grit, take the grinding, and succeed. The lesser that you can see the jawline, the more these people can give up. The stronger the jawline, these people can take hardship. That's why if you see that on most career ladies have a clear jawline, okay? Guys who can take on the challenge have a clear jawline. The moment a person doesn't have a jawline, the person might not be able to take hardships and become successful. All right, so that's how you see the jaw lines. And for the last segment of our modifier modules, which I think is probably one of the most important ones, is the laughter lines. Now, laughter lines don't normally just appear on younger people. So if it does, one of the main features is if it does, then normally it's not good. Laughter line is the only feature on the face that it's good as you get older. So those days, the demarcation point is 40 years old. So if you're 40 and above, you see the laughter lines, is considered good. 40 and below, when you see a laughter line, it's no good, okay? So let me tell you some details about the laughter lines. It's also known as the longevity lines. So one of the easiest features to see whether someone has long life or not is to see whether they have those lines. But the trick to seeing that is after 40. If you before 40 you see it, it's not called the longevity lines, it's actually called the suffering lines. This is the only feature that is both good and bad depending on the time that you see it, okay? Whether a person has authority, power, position, whether their nervous system or digestive system is good is also on the laughter lines. That's how they denote the longevity, because if the laughter lines are clear, your internal system is good, that's how you live a longer life. If the laughter lines are not clear or vague, that can denote that your nervous system or your digestive system is not so good. Absence of these lines, as I said earlier on, means the middle and old age is no good. Early lines denotes that a person suffers or have to start work very early in life. That means even before 16 years old, they come out to work. So therefore, it's not considered very good, okay? But let's go on to details of this, okay? So first of all, what are the laughter lines? These two, it's the two lines that normally when you smile or you laugh, you can see it, okay? So these two lines can be long, short, broad, narrow, tight, visible, invisible. I'm going to talk about, all the various, presentations of the various ways you can be seen for a laughter line, okay? So, first of all, short laughter lines, okay? Short laughter lines are good if you're before 40. It's not good if you're after 40, okay? So, first of all, look at this. Short is even when you smile, like this person is smiling, and it doesn't even cross the mouth. Short means it doesn't cross the mouth, okay? When you smile, it should cross the mouth, all right? Even if you don't smile, it should cross the mouth, but not so visible, all right? So if you smile like this is a real smile and you still can't cross the mouth, it's considered a short laughter line. So here's another example. So this is barely making it. It's not considered short if it goes out. Can you see that? Okay? It's still okay, yeah? But this is not okay. Can you see it doesn't cross the mouth? So this crosses the mouth is okay, and so this doesn't cross the mouth is considered short. Now, so what about short laughter lines? Laughter lines are called fartling, okay? And when they're short, it's not a positive indicator. It denotes that someone, first sign is not possible to pass 60 years old. So first of all, it's not a good sign. Now, is it guaranteed that you won't pass 60? Well, if you have a major surgery prior to 60, and you still have a short laughter line, is fine, because that major surgery sort of denotes that you passed a difficult, life-threatening situation. But if you didn't have one, then that could be one of the indicators. And a short laughter line normally denotes that someone cannot become a great leader, or somehow is usually surrounded by a lot of petty people that sort of brings them down, or people that are, somehow do not support them. And or this person may marry a spouse, and the spouse somehow, now this laughter line is quite interesting because actually they denote the spouse. The spouse is someone who gives up easily, or is not resolute, and or maybe that the career is not so good. Okay, so short laughter line in short, it's actually not a very good line. Long laughter lines, on the other hand, this is long and deep. Obviously, it goes all the way to the chin. Okay. So this is another long and deep one. This is deep. Sometimes it's not so deep, okay? sometimes it's deep. And in this case here, you can see long and deep. Okay. Now, a long and deep line that extends beyond the mouth, as you can see, long and deep, extends beyond the mouth. You're looking at someone who has longevity. Okay. It works systematically. Now, the lines must not be broken, okay? If the lines are not broken, then it's a good long laughter line. If it's broken some way, then it's not good, okay? A person who is steadfast, a person who makes decision quickly and decisively, and they're smart, they research on new things and keep on developing, and basically they achieve world-class fame, you will have a world-class deep laughter line, okay? So deep and long is the key word. Laughter lines are always good. They're recognized, they're supported by people, they're famous, okay? So I know women don't like that, but sometimes they no matter how much Botox they do, they still have it. That's because they achieve fame and recognition. Now, the wider the laughter lines, the better it would be, okay? Because we don't like narrow. The wider it is, it's very auspicious. The more influential you are, the wider the laughter lines would be. Okay, and that means they have a lot of friends, a big family, or people who support you. You have authority and power. You're tactful with great people skills, and of course, you're surrounded by many friends. Okay, you're a people person. So this is called a long and wide laughter line. So you see the wide distance here. Wide is good. Okay, this is called a wide laughter line. Okay, this is wide but short. Okay, this is wide and long. And you see the difference? Short is no good, long is good. Okay? So you see it stops. Stops right here. Cool? Alright? So this is wide and long. Wide and long. Okay? Big difference here. Alright? Now, how about narrow laughter lines? Narrow is opposite of wide, obviously. Can you see? This is narrow. And it's just sort of crossed the mouth a little bit. Anything shorter is going to be short laughter lines, okay? So here's another example. Narrow laughter lines, all right? When you have a narrow laughter lines, it appears to have a tight embrace towards the mouth. It gives a very pinched look for the mouth. And basically, the narrower the laughter lines, the narrower the networks, the more suspicious somebody is, the more lonelier somebody is, or in other words, they have poorer social skills, okay? Or they are people who give up easily in life. They have a narrower laughter line, okay? Now, next we have the double laughter line. Sometimes you see laughter lines look like this. You have two, okay? So here's another example of a double laughter lines that you could see. Now, double laughter lines normally belongs to people who does double the work. So it's usually called the double career lines. People who have, now I wouldn't say they have a hard life, but they work very hard, okay? Because they have to do 2 or 3 jobs or 2 or 3 different professions. However, in the modern world, I've seen people who own multiple companies who wear different hats as different investors or owners of different companies have multiple laughter lines, okay? So that's why those days they say people with this line work like, you know, very difficult coolies, but today it's not. Today, if it's fleshy like this, it's fleshy, it belongs to people who own multiple company positions and they can do it. But if it's bony, like your whole face, you have no cheekbones is bony and your jawbone is narrow, your chin is narrow, and then you have 2 double lines, then you will work like a cow, okay? So that's not good. Sometimes you see it's one side is single and one side is double. Now this is obviously an imbalanced version of a laughter line. Can you see there's double here and then there's single on that side? Here's another example. This is even somewhat wavy and broken and it is double at the same time. So normally when you have this, is a person who comes from a probably troubled family background, someone who maybe have a step-parent or a stepfather or a stepmother. It can also denote the possibility that this person might be adopted, for example, or they might have to travel far to make a living, like they come from a really far place, or someone that is not from the same town. And usually their career is usually a lot of ups and downs before they succeed, and unfortunately, usually no inheritance or very little inheritance. Now, sometimes the laughter lines can branch out, okay? So, like this, for example, you see a branch out. That's called a branched out laughter lines. So here you see another example of a branching out laughter line. As you can see, it's quite clear here in this picture. All right, here's another picture of a branched out laughter lines. Now, when you see a branch out laughter lines, in Chinese it's called the gold-threaded laughter lines, or Kam Lao Man. In face reading, is considered a feature belonging to people who have magnificent capabilities or possess great social fame and status, and or very auspicious wealth or fortune as they get older. So this is a good feature to have because traditionally belong to people who have great stature and great respect in society. Now, some lines are deep and heavy. Okay, you've seen some of this before, but here's some example. Deep and heavy lines. Okay, so they are deep cut into. Can you see the deep cut into the face? Deep line on a woman is different than a deep line on a guy. Deep line on a woman can indicate some form of jealousy or a little bit possessive, a little bit envious of other people. Normally when it's on the face of a lady, it might mean that her life is a little bit chaotic and a little bit of hardship, a little bit hectic as well. Relationship with men is usually ups and downs and a little bit trouble. Okay, on a man, this line is a little bit different. I know it's a little bit unfair, but that's how it is in traditional face reading. On a man's face, deep laughter line, which is actually representing good outcome. It actually represents a career that is strong, well respected, and indicates someone who is stern and doesn't have really good interpersonal relationship with others, but has great authority and leadership abilities. Okay, so on a man, it represents that. Normally, people with deep laughter lines make a great impact in society and or the community that they serve. Now, sometimes the laughter line is there, but it's sort of faint, or you can't really see it, but it is there. Now, after 40, if you still like this, for example, you can like almost faint. It's sort of have, but it's not really there. Can you see this? All right. So here's another example. It's sort of there, but it's faintish, not really clearly defined. So these are people that don't have an easy life, and opportunities don't always come by. So when they do, you need to be able to seize them quickly and be able to take advantage of it, because usually people with this outline don't make it too high up in the career ladder, and generally in the type of work they are unable to lead well or manage other people well. Yet they still have the drive to succeed, but unfortunately it always seems that luck or position always evade them because the leadership quality is lacking in someone with a faint laughter lines. Now the next one is a very special formation called the 8-character laughter line. 8 character means in Chinese it looks like a character 8. Okay, it looks like this in real life. Okay, so see, it looks like the character in Chinese. It looks like the word 8. All right, so laughter lines that clearly you could see. All right, so the 8 laughter lines is broad. It's like a triangle. All right, across the cheeks, it looks like this. It's a bit curvy, as you can see, and usually this is the only time that the laughter lines won't actually cross the mouth. Okay, so normally people like this has low profile, all right, and they are very modest in what they do. They have great networks, great individuals, yet they keep a very low profile. They're calm. They normally like a very relaxing and chilled out lifestyle. And even though they are low profile, but they are normally people who enjoy very high luxury and quality type of life. So these are the sort of people that maybe live out in a farm, but they own a huge piece of land and they have a lot of money, for example. So they have an 8-character laughter line. Here is a special feature, again, on the laughter line called snake entering mouth formation. A snake entering laughter line is like this. Okay, ignore the ring here. It means, look at this. The laughter line goes into the mouth. This is called the snake entering mouth. In the old books, they say a person will die of hunger. Now, you may say, how can in the modern age anyone dies of hunger? What it really means is perhaps you have throat cancer or stomach disease that prevents you from eating. So you got to take note of this. If it's the right side enter the mouth, then it's the right side of the body that is a problem, or right lungs that's the problem, right throat that's a problem. If it's the left side, it will be the left throat, or the left lungs, or the left stomach might have an issue. So be very careful of snake entering the mouth. Snake entering in another way also can denote to people who can be easily depressed, a little bit pessimistic and anxious, basically easily stressed out. That could also be a reason why they develop that sort of chronic disease. Here is another example of snake entering mouth. This is another example of only one side entering the mouth. A snake entering mouth is usually a very bad feature. However, you will take note, usually when a snake enters the mouth is a bad thing. It's almost like fatalistic formation, but then dragon may exit the mouth. So what it means is, it goes in and then it comes out. Can you see that? It comes in and then it goes out. The laughter line actually goes out. Here's another example. Okay, here's another example. So this one goes in and dragon exiting the mouth. Okay, so this is a special formation. Can you see this? Here it goes in and then it goes out, right? So this formation here, in fact, turns a negative formation into positive. It means that you could have gone through a heart bypass or a major health issue, but then you survive and then you live very long, okay? That becomes an auspicious feature. This type of feature basically denotes a person who's gone through, a lot of hardships, but lastly able to achieve great success. It is an auspicious formation, and the person is usually highly respectable and enjoys a very noble standing, has great authority and leadership skills, and basically enjoy a very prosperous, noble life. Do take note, however, of broken laughter lines, okay? Broken laughter lines can also extend to scars or lines that is crisscrossing. Basically, it's not just a gap. Sometimes the lines or something that somehow breaks that laughter line, like a accidental scar there, for example. Anything like that destroys family bonds and have the same effect as a broken laughter line. For example, this is a broken laughter line. So you may say, hey, but this is almost like a good dragon exiting mouth, but it's broken, right? That sort of destroys everything. Here's another example. There's a broken laughter line. Now, broken laughter line, it's a visible gap in the lines. Now, men having this line indicates the possibility of breaking his leg or leg-related injuries around mid-50s years old, or slightly just after 50. Or women having this laughter line may indicate arms having problem or broken arms or arm-related injury. Normally, broken laughter lines belong to people with broken family bonds, okay, or someone who basically lacks certain direction in life after a major traumatic or challenge that happens in their life. Now, take note of this formation called laughter lines locking the nose wings, okay? We call this Fat Ling Po Lan Ton. The laughter lines locking into the nose wings means this. You see laughter lines? And it goes into the nose. You see? Into the nose. This line here is not good when it's attached like this. Can you see that? All right. This is a laughter lines that locks in the nose wing. Can you see that? Fat Ling Po Lan Toi. Yan Seng Pat Zui Choi. When the laughter line locks the nostril wings, the person cannot be reached. That's what the ancient poem says. But what it really means is inauspicious formations for accumulation of wealth. Financially insecure person who doesn't save any money or can't save money for some reason, or work hard for money but then he just spends all the money on things that are not necessary or are not useful. Some people who have this use the money unwisely, right? For example, if you see this feature appearing, the person could be using the money to buy fame, buy titles, buying a position, but forgot to use the money to feed the family or take care of the family. Therefore, family bonds are not good when you see a line like that. Often have unrealistic dreams or a very unstable relationship with family members. Now, we know that laughter lines are very, very important. And so if you see that the laughter lines are imbalanced, like one short, one long, like this, for example, this is clearly short, long. And here, as you can see, one side longer, one side very short. This denotes a very unstable personality, a person who lacks persistence and drive. He or she might love something to one extent and suddenly flip and hate that something overnight, okay? So, or someone who can give up on his or her task. Normally when some initial results are not seen, lack the sustaining power, very rocky career or career path, person who is temperamental. We don't like imbalance of the laughter line, because laughter line represents fame and respect. So at one point people respect you and suddenly you lose everything and then you're back to square one. So whenever we see a long and short, that indication is there. Now, laughter lines are the only lines that we like to grow downwards and wide, but sometimes you have a weird one that actually goes upwards. So an upward growing laughter lines is very negative. Let me show you. It's like, for example, you can see, looking at this face, can you see like it's almost trying to go up? Okay, it's like as if this moves upwards like that. Okay, so it sort of gives the impression that the line curves out like this. That's called upward growing laughter lines. Here's another example of it, you see. This is upward growing laughter lines. Now, this is not a good feature because it actually denotes that after your mid-50s that life looks a bit bleak and full of challenges and problems. And usually it's a result of a lot of misfortune that comes with health issues and health-related burdens and problems. Wherever these people are, they always get entwined in office-related politics. They might be isolated or ostracized. The only good thing about these lines, it belongs to people who are free-spirited and likes to live on their own terms. So it's better off that they have are more isolated, or they live alone, or they live in a very secluded area. Whereas if they're in office, they drag into politics. If there are a bunch of people, they get into problems. That's why an upward moving laughter lines is no good. And here is yet another very special laughter line formation known as the bell-shaped laughter line. A bell-shaped laughter line looks like a bell. Okay, so it goes like this, and it is shaped like a bell, like a church bell. A bell-shaped laughter line belongs to very high social status personnel, people who get a lot of respect, especially in the religious aspect, people who draw a lot of support, people who have great followers. And the reasons for that is because they have a very dependable nature, people who like to follow because they're trustworthy, generally very high-level leadership qualities. So you see a lot of great statesmen have it, or spiritual leaders have this. Okay, so just imagine the church bell or the bell in Shaolin Temple, for example. It looks like this. That is a bell-shaped laughter lines. One final feature, that is the laughter lines curving under the mouth. Now, this feature is not a good feature. You don't always see it. If you see it, it will look like this. It goes underneath the mouth. Okay, almost forming a round, but it doesn't complete a round formation. So you could see now this is curving underneath the mouth. Now when that happens, it indicates that a person has recurring stomach-related problems, and the biggest health issue would be around 70 or 71, because as you know, this part is 70 and 71, and so if they are able to pass through 70 and 71, the major problem between the stomach problems, they could easily add about 10 to 12 years more of lifespan. Okay, so take note of 70 and 71 around that age, especially stomach-related problems. But the good thing is this, you can always see a doctor, make sure you prevent yourself from getting into that sort of situation if you do see a feature like this. So we have covered everything we need to know about the laughter lines. We have also talked about the jaws, we have also talked about the chin. So these three are the modifiers to talk about whether a person has a great legacy, whether old age is great, whether or not they are well respected, whether or not they stay healthy, whether they have the perseverance and the drive and the determination to stand out, to be distinctive. It's all in these three features. Okay, so this is extremely important. You need to review and recap all the contents in this before moving on to the next module. And when you're ready, I'll see you then.